Hey, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Just wanted to welcome you to the Rules of the Line of Scrimmage 2020 Virus-Free Virtual Clinic. My name is John Braun. I'm the head line judge in the Big 12 Conference, and looking forward to providing some insight with regards to the rules of the line of scrimmage, and appreciate all of you being on tonight, and looking forward to having a great discussion. If I'm hoping you can all hear me, and if you can't hear me, please send a message through the chat and let everybody know so I can try to work on that from this end. First poll question is getting ready to come up. So I'm going to bring this poll up. So first poll question, kind of just a random generic question. How many line of scrimmage fouls are there? So give you guys a second to kind of see where we end up. We're getting some responses here. Seems to be fluctuating between 6 and 7. Some 5s. All right, so we're going to go ahead and end the poll right there. So from the standpoint of line of scrimmage fouls, there are actually 7. 43% of you had 7, and then 35 with 6, and 21 with 5. So those line of scrimmage fouls include false start, DOF, illegal motion, illegal shift, illegal formation, encroachment by the offense, and if we include delay of game on the defense, it's partially involved with the line of scrimmage, so I threw that in there as well. So those are the fouls that we typically see and deal with from a line of scrimmage standpoint. Tonight, we're going to focus a little bit more on false start and DOF. Those are our most common fouls that we deal with from a line of scrimmage standpoint. So we're going to focus with those, and then we're also going to look at some spots, and we're going to look at false start versus DOD and get some thoughts in regards to all of those. So go ahead and put this first play out here. All right, so on this first play, we're looking at the wide receiver at the bottom of the screen, or the slot receiver, sorry, at the bottom of the screen. No big deal. Quick reaction. He does react prior to the snap. Correctly shut down for false start. What I want to talk about a little bit with this play as you kind of walk through this is what is that really when we're looking at it from, and we'll get to the TV view here in just a second. When you're looking at it from the standpoint of the line of scrimmage and you're looking at that slot receiver, yes, he simulates the snap. There's not a lot of debate there. But if he just twitches that back leg and he just kind of buckles it a little bit, there's not a lot of reaction, not a lot of movement. We don't want to call that. That's too technical for a false start. But in this one, where he actually dips, and he dips the whole body, and he gets ready to go, we want to make sure that we're getting that as a false start. So additionally, when we're looking at this formation, we want to look at the legality of the formation on every play. And the left tackle is suspect at this particular moment from a false start standpoint, or from an illegal formation standpoint. So from a line of scrimmage standpoint, we need to be evaluating on every play the legality of the formation, as well as, are we splitting those two wide receivers out? Is there a blade of grass between them? Yes, we can make them both legal. We know what the formation is, but this tackle is certainly one that we want to have a discussion with to get up on the line of scrimmage because he's too far back. From the sheer standpoint of false start, right? This is a false start by this number 2 receiver, but if he just twitches that back leg, no big deal, right? We're going to let that one go. We don't want to be that technical on a false start if there really isn't any reason to do so. All right, so we're gonna go to the next. So the question came in, right? Is there, if the defense points this out, then we do want to flag on this, right? Even for a slight dip. So if there's a little bit of a dip with regards to what's going on, from that secondary that number 2 receiver, if there's a slight dip and they get pointed out by the defender, we need to call this. That is a false start. All right, let's go to the next. Okay. So we're going to go to the next video. So in this video, we're looking at the wide receiver at the top of the screen. As soon as it comes up. So the receiver at the top of the screen, he is on the line of scrimmage. And when he's on the line of scrimmage, he's very limited in what his movements can be. In this particular case, he shifts out further towards the sideline right before the snap. And he's still in motion essentially at the snap. This is a false start. This is not illegal motion. This is a false start because he is on the line of scrimmage. So we've put him on the line of scrimmage. We've made that determination. He starts to move right about here. He's moving out, ball snapped, and he's still never set again. This is a false start. Okay, we don't want to get this confused with any sort of illegal motion or, this is a false start. We need to shut this down and make it what it is. Okay, because he's on the line of scrimmage, he is restricted in his ability to move prior to the snap. If this was a tackle who made the same movement, again, we would call this a false start. So we need to make sure that we are consistent in calling this from the line of scrimmage standpoint. So there's a question that came in with regards to the mechanics of the calling official on this. So again, because we want this shut down, right? We want to come in, we want to provide a preliminary signal as we're the only official with a flag down. Make sure we get that preliminary signal to the referee so that he can make his announcement. And killing the clock as we come in, flag goes. We want to make sure we get this shut down early because we don't want anything untoward or unsuspect to happen with anybody else on this play, especially with the quarterback getting blown up or anything else. Okay, so on this next video that's going to come up here, yes, we all see the tight end flinch. He's in a 3-point stance. All right, so I want to back this up a little bit, and it's going to kind of run, so you're going to kind of get a couple of angles. I want you to watch the action by the receiver, the number 1 receiver, and the number 2 receiver. Number 1 receiver comes out, covers him up, and then moves back. Okay, if that number 1 receiver actually stays and covers up that tight end, what can that tight end actually do legally? So that tight end, at that point, he is covered up by a wide receiver. We would consider him basically a restricted lineman at that point. And if he picks his hand up to move to the other side of the formation, we would have a false start because he's now locked in by that receiver. With the receiver stepping back, that now gives the tight end the ability to pick his hand up, step back, go in motion, switch to the other side of the field, and, pretty much go through and do what he wants because he is the end receiver on the line of scrimmage. If that wide receiver, again, covers him up, then he is restricted. If he is in a 2-point stance and goes down to a 3-point stance, again, we want to make sure that we're giving him the benefit, especially if he's the end man on the line of scrimmage, to be able to have a little bit of leeway. However, if he goes down into a 3-point stance at the same time that guy goes in motion, the number 2 receiver, and that number 2 receiver never gets set, then we do have a potential for an illegal shift. So we need to make sure that from a line of scrimmage standpoint, we are processing all of that information on every single one of these plays. So what's the formation? What's the wide receiver doing who's coming out to tell us that he is lined up? Where's he lined up? Is he lined up covering up that tight end? Is that tight end in a 2-point stance? Is that tight end in a 3-point stance? Okay. Now, some would say, what about the movement by the defensive end? Was that enough to draw him off? No, that movement was smooth, natural, normal. There wasn't anything unnecessary about it. And so that's a false start by the tight end. Okay. But again, all the things that we have to process from the line of scrimmage standpoint to ensure that we are making the best proper judgments for this as we go along. All right. Okay, so all right. Back to our videos here. So from a false start standpoint, and from a line of scrimmage standpoint, on every play, we're evaluating for illegal formation, false start, DOF, illegal shift, illegal motion, encroachment, and we're looking at DOD, and we're evaluating all of this from the standpoint of what's happening from our side of the ball over. We want to make sure that we're continuing to focus in on each one of these aspects every single play. The next category we're going to talk about is second most common line of scrimmage foul, which is defense offside. How many aspects of defense offside are there? Well, we know that we can have a defender lined up in the neutral zone. There's one. We can have a defender move into the neutral zone during the snap, so he is actually in the neutral zone at the snap. We can have DOF with contact, where the defender actually makes contact prior to the ball being snapped. And we can have basically, your delay of game on defense, where that action actually causes a false start or the offensive player to react, which we'll talk about shortly in a few minutes. So from a DOS standpoint, most of those are going to be live ball. There are two aspects that are not going to be dead ball, and one is contact by the defense with the offense, and the other one is if that defender is unabated to the quarterback. So when we talk about unabated, if the defensive end or a defensive tackle, they get a jump, they're in the neutral zone, and they have gotten past the shoulder of the tackle or the guard, we want to consider that as unabated. We want to go ahead and shut that down because nothing good is going to come from that. We need to protect those players because he now has a full head start. He is running without anyone to stop him from going back there and blowing up the quarterback. So DOF with contact, DOF unabated are dead ball fouls. Lined up in the neutral zone or in the neutral zone at the snap, those are live ball fouls. By philosophy, we'll look at philosophy. If the defender is lined up tight to the neutral zone within 1 yard, any forward movement by the defender will put him in the neutral zone. We want to make that a DOF. We don't want to split hairs on that. He's lined up that tight, make it what it is. So in this very first DOF video that we're going to show, this is contact by the defender. And so this is shut down for, DOF with contact. Okay. I'm the only one with a flag down on this one. Occasionally, and more than one, if we have multiple flags on this, so we're watching the defensive tackle, he's going to move in, make contact with the guard. We're shutting this down for DOF with contact. If there are multiple flags on this, one from the umpire or from the opposite, from the line judge, we want to get together and have that conversation prior to reporting to the referee. Otherwise, if it's just one flag, we can go ahead and give a preliminary signal of DOF, give the referee the information, and let him announce it. From a referee standpoint, most of the time the referee is going to announce whatever we tell him. We want to make sure that we're telling him, hey, number 51 was lined up in the neutral zone. Number 50, was in the neutral zone at the snap. Or in this case, number 41, defense offside with contact. And we go from there. So again, shut this down. This is contact. This is prior to the ball being snapped.
Hey, John, DOF. I think I always refer to these situations with DOF as flavors. I mean, you can call them categories, but I always like to communicate with our line of scrimmage people, man. Give me the flavor of the DOF that we're working here, because I always want to basically announce that subcategory of what we're calling, especially when it comes to lined up in the neutral zone. A lot of times that doesn't involve movement by the defense. And if we simply just announce, defense offside without saying the player was lined up in the neutral zone, we kind of run risk of losing a little credibility because they're not going to see anybody moving into the neutral zone. So, I mean, you kind of touched on it, but do you prepare that with your referees, or how do you work that, John?
So I'll just tell you, my referee from the last couple of years, he was a little bit more, didn't quite give that same information. Working with other referees, they will go ahead and give that. I always ask of my referee, what will you announce? If I tell you number 7 was lined up in the neutral zone, are you going to announce number 7 was lined up in the neutral zone, or are you just going to announce DOF? And so I'm going to kind of put that back on the referee, because I'm going to give him all that information ahead of time, because I want him to announce that. Again, as Brandon pointed out, if you have a DOF and nobody moves, nobody jumps, the camera's not going to be able to see it, and it's going to make us lose credibility. So I'm going to ask my referee, will you announce this if I give you that information? And if he says yes, great, I'm going to give him that information. If he says no, I'm still going to give him that information. You need to get in the habit of preparing yourself to whatever information you're going to give your referee. So in this particular case, number 46, defense offside, number 46 with contact, and we'll let the referee make the announcement from there.
Yeah, I like that, John. And then, the same would go for jumping into the neutral zone, causing the offense to react. Different referees announce that differently, but I just think it's way better to over-communicate those subcategories, just to make sure if the referee's capable, we can announce all of that detail, and it just bolsters our credibility a little bit more.
Agreed. That's a great question, Brandon. Thanks for bringing it up.
Hey, John, quick question for you, man. On this kind of play where our contact is really, really tight to the snap, and you're the line of scrimmage official, which way do you lean in regards to shutting it down or letting it go? And take us through your thought process and why we lean that way.
Sure. So if I have any doubt as to the contact occurring simultaneous with the snap or just before the snap, the best alternative is to shut this down, go with the dead ball foul. And, we can all see the defender's in there. He's in there early and he makes contact. We don't want to split hairs on whether or not he got in there half a second before or the ball was snapped right as he was making contact. He's in early, shut it down, go with the dead ball foul, and then we avoid the potential for any other unnecessary situations to arise. So in this particular scenario, we don't shut this down. The quarterback fumbles the ball, West Virginia jumps on it, and then after the play, we end up with a celebration. Now we're compounding the situation with extraneous stuff we don't need. So the best option is, if it's tight and you're working it that tight and there's contact, shut it down.
And hey, John, what about, let's say you're not the calling official. So, we've seen your mechanics, kind of the John Braun show, man. I'm liking this. We've seen your mechanics, but what if you're not the calling official? We have a play where we're going to shut things down. I mean, talk about, don't we still want to be coming in hard, providing a presence to make sure we get the play shut down appropriately, players stop, with all these interactions with each other?
Yeah, that's a great question, Brandon. So from line of scrimmage standpoint, if you are not the calling official, and in this case, we only had the guy on my side jump off, so the line judge at the bottom, we want to be a presence. We want to make sure that nothing's happening. You don't necessarily need to get on your whistle because there's already a whistle coming in. But if there's action happening, you want to be a presence. You want to be in there. You want to be watching what's going on and be part of the action, because we still have action going on, right? We still have guys coming in trying to get to the quarterback because they're slow to hear the whistle, as players always say they are. So be a presence, be in there, and be working. So if the line judge had thrown this, right, I'd be coming in to make sure that nothing's happening. We want the same thing from an umpire standpoint. Move up there, be involved in the conversation if appropriate, and be involved in the play to avoid anything unnecessary. So again, that's a great question. Thanks, Brandon. All right, so this next DOF that we're going to look at is in the neutral zone at the snap. So what's our philosophy with regards to in the neutral zone at the snap? So in order for the defender jumps in, they're legally allowed to get back out of the neutral zone prior to the ball being snapped. However, they have to get all the way back out. And by all the way back out, we're not going to split hairs. We're not going to say, oh, he was all the way back out. Now, if he's in, he's got to be all the way back behind the ball and out of the neutral zone completely. So the neutral zone, if we remember, is the width of the football. Okay. So the end jumps in, he's still got that foot in there, and then he tries to get back. But again, we want to make sure that we're not splitting hairs. He's in the neutral zone at the snap, and we have a live ball foul. Okay. So again, he can jump in and he can get all the way back out, but he has to be all the way back out. Don't split hairs on this. Make it what it is. He gets in the neutral zone. It's on him for being in the neutral zone at the snap. Now, if 56 jumps in the neutral zone, okay, so let's talk a little bit about protected linemen for a quick second. So at this point, 56 is the defensive end, and the only lineman that is protected because he is on the outside shoulder would be the tackle. So if the tackle jumps and reacts to number 56 jumping in the neutral zone, then we have a dead ball foul. We have a defense offside causing the offense to react, and we're shutting that down for dead ball. Okay. If we're looking at the defensive tackle on this one is head up on the guard. And so we're actually protecting, in that particular case, the guard, the center, and the tackle. So all three are protected in this particular scenario for any forward movement by that defensive tackle that would cause a reaction by the offense. Okay, so we need to know from a line of scrimmage standpoint, is he head up? Is he in the gap? Who's protected? Who's not? In this particular scenario, we may have to get some help from the umpire if the tackle jumps in, because we may not know if he's completely head up. So we're going to have to get some help from the umpire to determine, is he head up? Is he not? Was he in the gap? Was he not? Because that determines, again, how many players we're protecting. Okay. All right, one more category of DOF here. All right, so in this particular play, what you're going to see is multiple flags. The line judge has a flag, the umpire has a flag, head linesman has a flag. Okay, we have all this movement, right? And this is the one that Daniel kind of asked about earlier, is what are we doing? Well, in this case, we have contact. So we're going to shut this down and err on the side of caution, right? It's contact, shut it down, and go from there. But we have three flags as everybody jumps in. Okay, we want to make sure that at this point we're having a conversation with all the calling officials, so we're all on the same page. Now, we have the contact by the defense. They've jumped in. Did anybody see any additional reaction by number 33, the wide receiver for Oregon in this particular play? If you watch it, it's going to come around again. Number 33 actually flinches. His flinch, and we won't get into a whole lot of that, but his flinch happens just after the defense actually makes contact. So we're already shutting this down for contact by the defense. We're putting it on them. Typically, if we have a flinch by the offense, we're going to put it on the offense because they created and they simulated the start of the snap. But in this particular play, we have multiple flags by the line judge, headlines, and the umpire for a DOF with contact. All three come together to have that conversation with the referee, and that's what we announce. All right. Okay, so the next one I want to spend a little bit of time on. I want to spend some time on delay of game defense versus false start. So delay of game defense is defined delay of game by defense is defined in the rule book, and it's found in Rule 7. It's 1.5 A, and then it's subsections 4 and 5. And it really talks about players that are aligned in a stationary position within 1 yard of the line of scrimmage. They are not allowed to make quick, abrupt, or exaggerated actions that are not part of normal defensive player movement. Okay. Additionally, the second part of that is no player shall use words or signals that disconcert opponents when they are preparing to put the ball in play. No player may call defensive signals that simulate the sound or cadence of or otherwise interfere with offensive starting signals. So there's a memo that's come out about defensive players that are starting to clap. They can't do that. That's disconcerting signals. That's delay game on the defense. The defense is allowed to shift. They're allowed to move laterally. They're allowed to move side to side, moving around. They don't have the same requirements the offense does to be stationary at the snap, so they get a little bit more latitude. However, their movement has to be smooth, it has to be rhythmical, and it can't be jerky or so we're gonna play a video real quick. This first play coming up of a nice, smooth, rhythmical shift by the defense. So on this particular play, if you just watch the defensive line, they're not doing anything different. They're not shifting their hands. They're not throwing their hands up in various fashions. And we have a false start by the tight end. And all the tight end is just reacting to normal movement. However, as you can see from the discussion on the video, as it's going, the discussion was, did that shift by the defense? Was there any sort of rhythmical, did they make any sort of movement? Did they make any sound that would have created the false start by the offense? We need to make sure with DOD that we're involving the umpire and we're getting the umpire's perspective, because he may hear something. He may have heard a move call. He may have heard something that created a different cadence, and we need to make sure on that we have discussion. It's not just as simple as a false start, especially when you see that line actually moving where they are in a pretty rhythmical fashion. So we're going to go ahead. Stop that here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to start the poll now for one. Okay, I'm going to publish this. And then we're going to play the video. And let's just see what you guys think. We'll let this play a couple times and see what everybody thinks. And right now we got, let's change it a little bit. Let's see what we have here. All right, so we're going to let this run just a couple more seconds here. Give you a couple more looks at this, and then we'll end the poll and we'll see where it comes at. Go ahead and stop it right there. All right, so with regards to whether this was a false start or delay game defense, 53% of you think this is a delay game defense. 46% of you think this is a false start. So we had this conversation out on the field to determine whether or not we thought this was false start DOD. I had false start. I had the wide receiver reacting and starting, on his own. Okay. Yes, he reacts to the movement by the defense, but the wide receiver is not protected. We don't protect wide receivers, and the defensive back in front of him didn't do anything to create that false start. He was looking down the line and actually was looking at the interior of the line as they were creating, or they were moving forward. Now, having looked at this a couple hundred times and having this dissected, I believe this is delay game defense. This is a coordinated act. They're all doing the same thing. The intent and purpose is to get somebody to jump, and they end up getting the wide receiver to jump on the outside. So if I go back and grade this myself, I think this is a delay game defense. This is not natural movement. This is coordinated movement. It is coached. And this is something that we need to be a little bit more cognizant of. We had a conversation on the field. There wasn't a whole lot of information provided. So we went with the call that I had, which was false start from the wide receiver on the outside. But truly, this is, as we look at this is delay game on the defense. And we should have gone and penalized the defense 5 yards for this versus going from a false start standpoint.
Hey, John, can we go back to DOF?
Certainly.
You can maybe talk about your pre-snap routine when you have defenders crowding the line. I don't think I heard you talk about that. Maybe talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so let me go back and we'll just pull up one of the DOF videos. It's a great question too, Todd. Thank you. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and play this particular video, and we'll talk through the mechanics of it. So in this scenario, right, there isn't anybody in front of me. I've got a good clear vision. The defensive back is playing off. There isn't anybody crowding the line of scrimmage. I can see all the way through the football and have good clear vision of this particular defensive end as he jumps in. Now, if that defensive back is crowding the line of scrimmage, or that wide receiver is coming up really tight, when I go to give my pre-snap routine, I want to give the wide receiver a little bit of latitude, back him up a little bit so that I can see all the way through the ball. I can see the tackle, and I can see all the way through to the other side. So to do that, put your foot out there, give them the line of scrimmage, but give them maybe a half inch, 2 inches behind that. They're still lined up. They're still okay. They're still breaking the waistline of the snapper, and that way you can look straight down. Now, if they are crowding you, you may have to adjust a little bit. That may mean take a half a step one way or the other to be able to see all the people that you need to see. And still, because we have responsibility for everything from the football over to our side. And if I can't see all of that, I need to get in position to see that. Now, whether it's a lean a little bit to the side to get that vision, take a half a step to the defensive side, take a half a step to the offensive side, give you that same perspective, but you want to make sure that you can see everybody on your side of the football.
Hey, John, back to DOD a little bit. So, look, the offense doesn't have to react for there to be for us to call a foul on DOD. And we can talk about how we read the rule book versus how we work the ball game. I mean, when you see suspect movement by the defense, talk about all the elements you kind of think about in terms of down and distance, game situation, reaction by the offense, no reaction by the offense. There's a lot of – the rule is clear, but the actual application of the rule sometimes isn't so clear. So maybe just kind of go through game situation, situational awareness. What are you thinking in terms of putting all those pieces together?
Yeah, it's a great question, Brandon. So I just pulled back up the video that we did the poll on. It's a punting situation. It's fourth down, right? And the line to gain is less than 5 yards. Okay, so it's first quarter. It's a tight ball game. What you're looking for is, again, where is this going to happen? This is going to happen on fourth down, right? This is going to happen when there's really nothing for the defense to lose. So they're trying to draw a reaction by the offense. They're trying to create a situation where they gain an advantage. So it's fourth down. We want to make sure we already know the down and distance. We know what we have for first down. We know where we're snapping from. We want to make sure, again, that this is what's the scenario. It's fourth down. It's punted. It's early in the game. It's in the first quarter. But let's say this is to the end of the half. Okay. And they're trying to get, they want to get 5 additional yards out of this. So that may back them up and turn field position a little bit easier and a little quicker. So as you're processing that, you're looking at the movement. Okay. And all that movement is unnatural. It's not natural movement. So you need to be telling yourself, hey, what can they do? What can they not do? What's natural? What's not? All of this in this video that we just showed, and I'll show it again. None of that is natural. Okay, that's not smooth. They're jumping from one foot to the other. Okay, they are drawing a reaction, and I fell for it. So that's not natural because they're shifting feet, right? They have one foot up, then they shift. So we're looking for, shifting feet, shifting hands. Again, making sure that what's the scenario. So down a distance, fourth down, less than 5 to go. If we put this on the defense, this continues the drive.
Hey, John, when you get into that situation and you're able to recognize, clearly a really tough foul, just as a function, we can tell by how often we end up in this situation right here, right? Like you said, it's clearly DOD when we're watching it on film for the 18th time now, but really tough. We get these wrong often. When you're in a situation and you have DOD, talk about how you report that to the referee, and then, Brandon, jump in with kind of what you're looking for and what your announcement sounds like.
So that's a great question. When I have DOD, like in this particular scenario, my report to Brandon or to the referee is going to be, hey, I've got delay a game on the defense, unnatural movement, whatever you want to call it. I have to think through what my proper terminology would be, but it's really something along those lines that movement was designed to simulate the offense to false start. We'd have to work with Brandon on what his announcement would be, but from my standpoint, it's that movement's unnatural. So I've got a flag down for delay game defense just due to the unnatural movement. How I report that is going to be delay game defense. The reaction or the movement by the defender was not natural, and then we kind of wordsmith it with Brandon. So. Brandon, that's a great question. How would you want that reported to you, and how would you announce that?
Well, I won't answer your first question because it's going to be reported many different ways. I mean, that's just the reality. So referees, we just, it's kind of like we talked about a few sessions ago. We got to have a framework for how we want to announce things. And, I just love making announcements over a webinar. That's awesome. But basically, it's once you report delay of game defense, look, we have a sense of what happened, the actions of the player. So the announcement's going to be delay of game defense, number 59, abrupt movements causing the offense to false start. And then you just go into your 5-yard penalty and whatever the down's going to be. So, just state the facts, state what the official reported. But at the same time, I think referees have a framework for how you want to announce these fouls.
That's a great question. Thank you for asking it. All right. So I want to spend a little bit of time. Now we've talked, false starts, DOS, talked DOD. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about spots and crossfield mechanics and really what makes good line of scrimmage officials. Our goal as a line of scrimmage official is to be 100% on all the line of scrimmage fouls. But our other goal is to be 100% on all of our spots all game long. And that's where we should be striving to, because if we're 100% on our spots all game long, we're making it very easy for our referee. We're making it very easy for the game to just continue to flow. For those using replay, if we're not 100% on our spots on tight first down plays or things of that nature, then we have to stop the game, or we end up stopping the game potentially unnecessarily to go back and review our spots. And so I really want to kind of emphasize to everybody on this call from a line of scrimmage standpoint that you want to make sure that you are 100% on your fouls and 100% on your spots, game in, game out, all game long. So I'm going to start this first poll question. It doesn't seem like much because it's not that big a deal, but I want you to be thinking about, are we 100% on our spots and are we accurate? So publish the poll, and we'll go ahead and play the video. So no big deal formation. We've got two backs, throw, down, mark him down at, I think I got my yard lines wrong here on this poll, but should have been the 43 and the 44, not the 34 and the 33. So 44 and 43. So what do we think? We're watching this. We're looking at this play. Granted, it's out in space. Nobody cares. It's first quarter, 10:55 in the game. Not a big deal. Okay. We mark him down at the 42-yard line, right? So it looks like we've got most everybody going to, we'll watch this one more time. See what y'all think. Okay, so it looks like most everybody went to the 43, in my mixed up brain, the 33-yard line instead of the 44. So I spotted it at the 42-yard line. The 43 is a much better option. It's probably about the 43 and a half if you get technical. But as you watch this play and you watch this video come through, let's run this again. Okay. What we're looking for is we got double action, right? So the receiver's knee goes down right at the 44-yard line with the ball at the 43, and we don't pick up the double action. So from a spot standpoint, we've got to get in the habit of picking up the, where that receiver's knee goes down and where the ball is in relation to that. Yes, it's out in the middle of the field, no big deal. But let's say this is 3rd and 10, and that receiver's running a route right at 9 yards, and we miss the double action by the knee and we give him a first down. In that scenario, now we're going to give him first down, and if replay is involved, replay is going to have to get involved to stop this because it's incorrect. The spot isn't correct. We're giving him a first down unnecessarily. If this was at the goal line, then we'd be awarding a touchdown when really we should have him short. So good line of scrimmage officials get in the habit of, they see the knee down, they see the double action, knee, elbow, it goes down, boom, up, where's the ball? The ball was tucked in tight. It's not extended. So in that particular scenario, we should have put him at about the 43-yard line and not the 42.
Hey, John, I hate to keep going backwards on you. We had a really good question, though. Okay, I'm a brand new line of scrimmage official, and I get on there. First snap, I'm ready to go. I'm all set. All of a sudden, the defense jumps, the offense jumps, and I don't know what happened. Give me some tips on how do I get some time to process my thoughts and figure out, okay, am I going false start? Am I going DOF? Help me out there.
That's a great question. So first thing that comes to mind is, oh crap, right? What just happened? I don't have any idea. I know I've got a foul of some kind. The best thing is throw your flag, kill the clock, right? And then take a few seconds, take a deep breath. The clock's already stopped. Take a deep breath, breathe in, and figure out, okay, where are we going to go from here? Okay, what's the next option? Where do we want to go? What do I have? If we have movement and you're not sure, right, who moved first, offense versus defense, and you know that somebody was early, but you're, again, not sure, the best rule of thumb is to go ahead and just put it on the offense. The offense knows the snap count, right? If you're not 100% sure, but you know you've got a flag, and you know you've got a foul, it's a brand new official, put it on the offense. The coach asks you to say, hey, your guys moved prior to the snap. The defense, they moved at the same time. we are going to put this on the false start as a false start because your guys know the snap count. Okay. Best thing you can do, take a deep breath, kill the clock, right, and think for a second, and then process your thoughts before going to the referee. And again, if you're not 100% sure, go over to the referee, just have a quick conversation with them. The clock has stopped. Yeah, everybody's looking at you, but just calm down, take a deep breath, talk to the referee, kind of talk through a little bit of your thought process, but you have to make a decision. You have to decide as a new official, what are you going to do? When in doubt, if both teams are moving, when in doubt, put it on the offense as a false start.
Thank you, John.
You bet. That's a great question. All right, so let's look at the next one we want to look at from a spot standpoint. So this is in relation to the goal line. Okay. So in order for us to have a touchdown, right, we have to have the ball clearly across the plane without any body part touching prior to him going over the plane of the goal line for a touchdown. So take a look at this play. We'll give you some different angles to it. We have an airborne running back going over the top. We're snapping at the 2-yard line. Our mechanics are to get to the goal line. Okay. We're straddling the pylon, and then we have to make a determination as to whether or not the ball broke the plane prior to his right elbow coming down. So there's some couple of good shots of this. Same thing. Whether it's a first down, goal line, right here, elbow. But from that angle, we got a great shot of the ball breaking the plane. Here's another good one. Right before that elbow hits down, the ball breaks the plane of the goal line. So from a spot standpoint, if we're not consistent with our spots and we're not training ourselves play in and play out to be consistent on our spots, we may bring this in and go short, because where his elbow goes down, if you're not 100% sure and you don't see the football, you're going to mark him short because we're not training our brains to look at spots every single play. Okay, so every spot is crucial. Some are more crucial than others, like this one. This is opening drive type ball game, and they're going down to score. Right, we need to make sure that we're giving him the benefit of the goal line and the ball breaking the plane before his right elbow comes down. Okay, so if you can't see, if you got guys in the way, well, that's not acceptable from a line of scrimmage standpoint. We have to get into position to be able to see, and maybe it's a step either way. Maybe it's 1 foot just to make sure. Again, there's nobody here. There's nobody in front. It's a great view from both line of scrimmage officials. The line judge at the bottom's got a great view of the ball. So does the head linesman. So again, be consistent on your spots all game long to ensure that we are getting this 100% of the time. All right, so one more poll question. We'll start this one, and then there's the last 2 more videos we want to look at from a spot standpoint. I love it. All these guys with the first down already. So as we're talking about this is third down. It's third and short. Okay. From a mechanical perspective, right, it's 3rd and 1. So the head linesman at the bottom is going to actually move to the line to gain. And it's dependent on your supervisor, whether they want that or not. There's not truly a national mechanic that says you can do that. Our supervisor allows for that. So at 3 yards, it's 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 1 going in, then we can move to the line to gain to get a good view. So, all right, we're going to watch this one more time. I'm just going to go ahead and stop the poll right here. So looks like 85% of you think this is a first down. 14% of you say no. We just get paged here by instant replay as they're looking at this. So this is what I was talking about earlier about consistency with spots. Okay, if we're consistent and we get these spots correct, and we're doing it all game long, and we're 100% on our spots, then we don't have to get into a situation where replay has to stop this. It's 2:23 in the first quarter. a 7-0 ball game. Okay, but it's 3rd and 1, and this now becomes the potential where it's going to keep a drive going, or it's going to potentially stop a drive and force a punt. So great view right here. We have double action. The left knee of the quarterback goes down, and the ball's in his right hand, and it's just shy of the 40-yard line. So for those of you that said, no, this was not a first down, you are correct. Okay. So when you watch this at full speed, at 100%, okay, this is where we have to train our eyes, train our vision to really look for all those aspects to make sure that we are picking up 100% of the time spots. And we're 100% on our spots, consistent on our spots. So we're going to watch this play one more time. As you can see, as you're going through this, the head linesman moves is in great position, but we missed the knee down. Okay? We missed that knee down with the ball short of the line to gain. And this is just one little thing from a line of scrimmage standpoint, and 100% on your spots.
John, talk about mechanics relative to, crashing into the middle of the field. How do you decide when to do that? Sometimes we see line of scrimmage officials stay out on the sides. Sometimes we see them come all the way in and basically set the ball down on their foot. So what's your trigger to figure out how to do that and win?
So in a play like this, it's 3rd and 1. We want to make sure we're selling a spot for a first down. So we want to come off the sideline a little bit more, pinch in until you actually feel pressure from, or you run into a defender. You don't ever want to go past a defender or an offensive guy to move them out of your way, because then that looks like you're coming off your line from a spot standpoint. The best time to really sell this is when it's tight, whether it's tight to the goal line or it's tight to a first down. You want to come in, you want to sell your spot. It's your time to shine. If it's just routine, no big deal. There's no question about this being a first down. If this was 2nd and 9 and they throw a pass and it's clear and obvious that it's a first down, stay on the sideline, kill the play, signal first down to your referee, and move forward. But in this scenario, it's tight. It's really tight to a first down. We want to sell this, come in, pinch hard, pinch to where you feel resistance, kill the clock, and signal for a first down. It's something you just kind of have to develop a feel for as to when to pinch and when not to, because you'll wear yourself out, especially in the Big 12 with the offenses that they run. If you're pinching in all the time, you're going to be exhausted by the end of the game. So you've got to have a feel for when you want to come in and when you don't.
Yeah. And so wait, is it down and distance specific, or is it just, situation relative to dead ball within some, landmark of the line of game or some yard line between the line of game?
It's more down and distance related. If it's 2nd and 1, right? I may not come in as hard because it's 2nd and 1, and the next down is either going to be first down or 3rd down. But if it's 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, right, and that line to gain is truly threatened, you want to come in and sell that spot. You want to come in and let everybody know that you've got him either short or you've got him with a first down. It's your opportunity to tell everybody what you've got. If you're dealing with a goal line, let's say it's 1st and goal at the 2, 1st and goal at the 1, and you really want to make sure you've got a great spot and you want to make sure you've got all the way to the ball and you're finding this, that's when you want to go in and sell it. Okay? Sell it hard. But if it's not that big a deal, second and 5, and there's really no issue, he gets to the 5.5 or he gets 4.5. You can come in a little bit and sell it, but it's not as critical because the down and distance is not as critical.
And then while we're on the topic, John, what about, you've got either like a forward progress ruling that's tight, maybe the runner after forward progress is stopped and your judgment loses the ball, or you've got the runner down prior to him losing the football. Are those other situations to sell with your physical mechanics, or how do you handle those?
So if you've got the runner stopped with forward progress, you've got a couple of options. It's close to the sideline, wind the clock, indicating you've got forward progress. If his progress is stopped, you can always come in with a dead ball signal or the next down. Okay. If you're from a forward progress standpoint, if it's 1-on-1 and the receiver or the running back or the ball carrier is still moving forward, and is still moving in that direction, and there's only one defender, let him continue. Let him continue to fight. If it's two defenders or more on one player, and he's churning his legs, but he's going nowhere, forward progress is stopped. Okay. Down by, if you're going with down by rule, right, then he's got to be down. We actually have to have a physical body part down to make him down by rule. And if the ball comes out and you're going down by rule, if you have replay involved, you can actually let that play out, let replay get involved, because again, you're just still playing that as there's no body part down. His progress is still moving forward. If it's replay in a replay game and you rule forward progress, there is nothing anybody can do because you ruled that his progress was stopped, and that takes replay out of it. For those that don't have replay, if you rule forward progress, again, same thing. You've ruled forward progress. You've made a determination. You've signaled that his progress was stopped where it was stopped. If you're not 100% that he was down by rule and you continue to play it out, that's great. But if you have him down by rule, come in and sell the spot. You can point at the ground. Hey, I've got him down by rule prior to that ball coming out, and you can go from that standpoint. So with your physical mechanics, we can wind the clock. We can bring the 40-second dead ball play up. You can signal the next down. You're giving people an indication. If you're going to rule forward progress or you're going to rule down by rule, just give your referee a little bit of a nugget to say, hey, Brandon, just make an announcement for the number 25's forward progress was stopped in the field of play, second down or whatever the next down is. Or, we had his right elbow down prior to the ball coming out. Something that your referee can announce that tells everybody, hey, this is what we had on the field. Give them a little bit of a nugget. So.
Perfect. So, John, then what about so you talk about selling spots on third down. Now, how are you communicating? Because the referee is maybe going to have to make a decision about whether to measure or not. Okay, and we have guidelines for when we do that. But how do you communicate? Are you telling him it's a first down? Are you telling him it's short? Are you leaving that up to him? Talk about that.
Sure. So from a line of scrimmage standpoint, and this is what my line judge and I have talked about for the last couple of years, we're not going to leave it up to the referee to decide. We're going to make that decision. It's either going to be short or it's going to be a first down. If we're killing the clock and we're telling him with a point across the chest or through the 0-2-0, it's a first down, right? Then he's saying, hey, it's a first down. If we're killing the clock and coming in, running in towards a spot, we want to get the ball, we want to put it down, we're going to have a conversation with the referee after we put the ball at our feet and say, hey, take a look at this. It's really tight. Take a look at it, and we'll let him make the determination whether he wants to measure. If we come in, it's short. I'm coming in with my hand up, fourth down, third down, whatever it is. It's short. And I'm making sure that my umpire or my center judge is spotting the ball short of the line to gain. If the referee at that point wants to come up and take a look to see if he wants to measure, we've left that up to him to make that determination. But I'm telling everybody it's short when I'm coming in.
So I like your decisiveness on that, John. Just for a game management perspective, a lot of times, to be honest, we don't measure a whole lot, but when we do, we know the result. I mean, we know what it's going to be, but a lot of times it's for the purposes of just managing the football game and clearly communicating. And usually we'll wait until third or fourth down, but just, referees, it's always a good idea in those situations to kind of try to make some eye contact with the head coach. If you're ruling it short, make a little eye contact with the offensive team head coach. If you're ruling it a first down, make some eye contact with the defensive head coach, and just see, if they're gesturing for a measurement, it's okay to award that. I mean, obviously, if it's a first down by 2 or 3 yards, we're not going to award it. But if it's within 1 yard or half yard, I mean, use your coordinator's guidelines there. But like for us, if it's within 1 yard of the line to gain and they request a measurement on third or fourth down, we'll basically measure, just to manage the football game and make sure we're communicating clearly. So, that has nothing to do, John. Like you'll come in knowing it's short. You'll come in knowing it's a first down. if we might measure just for the purposes of managing the game. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely. That's a great point. So, all right, one final play I want to take a look at, and this actually involves crossfield mechanics. From a crossfield mechanics standpoint, that's huge in spots from the line of scrimmage, getting in sync with your partner on the other side. So what we have on this play is we've got a pass play out to the top of the screen, and he's coming back towards us, catches the ball, and the line judge comes up and he's looking for a good spot from across the field. And the headlines has got a spot because he's got a great angle looking towards this. And this is good mechanics by both officials. Now, if I'm looking at this a little bit more critically from a spot standpoint, the head linesman gave him a little too much. We gave him probably a yard too much on this. As his momentum is coming back, we want to spot this ball where he gains control, which is right about the 32-yard line. He goes up, makes the catch. He's got control, and he's actually coming back towards the line of scrimmage. His own momentum is taking him back that way, not the defender's momentum. So again, we'll take a look at this real quick. This is where we again want to work on our spots, work on our focus, get a great look, and it's great mechanics between the two, but we give him a little extra spot when we probably should have just gone to the 32-yard line where he actually got control of the football and his momentum was stopped at that point. So we're right at an hour. I really appreciate the opportunity to have presented tonight. I don't know if there's any questions that have come up, Brandon or Tuta or Daniel, that we want to address really quick. But I really do thank everybody for their participation tonight. And from a line of scrimmage standpoint, we want to be 100% on our line of scrimmage fouls and 100% on our spots all game long. And if we do that, then we will be very, very good line of scrimmage officials.
John, I appreciate you saying 100% on those things. Don't you think, too, maybe you can speak to it, it's a lot about our body language as line of scrimmage officials in terms of, what kind of presence do we show? What kind of confidence do we show out there with spotting the football? I mean, if we're tentative in certain situations, when the situation requires us to sell it a little bit more and we don't, I mean, you maybe nailed the spot, but what are you really communicating in terms of decisiveness and confidence? So maybe talk about that aspect of working the line of scrimmage a little bit.
Sure. So from the line of scrimmage standpoint, we're involved 100% on every single play. And we spot the ball all game long. And if you're tentative, if you're not sure and you're not confident about it because you haven't looked at enough video, you haven't taken enough snaps, if you come in a hesitant manner, then you're losing credibility with both coaches. You're losing credibility with the crew because they're not sure what you're going to do from play to play. So from a confidence standpoint, we've got to be overly confident, almost overly confident in everything we do because so much of what we do on the line of scrimmage affects the game from spot standpoint, from line of scrimmage fouls, from just game management and flow, that we need to be confident in our spots. We can't have any sort of hesitancy. Otherwise, it's just going to make us look bad. And it's going to make the crew look bad because the game it's not going to flow. So from a line of scrimmage standpoint, when you're looking at film and you're evaluating your stuff, don't go look for that DPI call that you made. Don't go look at your false starts. Go look at your spots, right? Go look at your spots. Go look to see were you consistent all game long on your spots. Did you see the double action? How did you come in and square up on this spot? Did you come in confidently, knowing that it was a first down or knowing that it was short? What did you do to portray to everybody in the stadium that you know exactly where this guy was down? Your body language, your mechanics are what sets you apart on the line of scrimmage. If your mechanics are lazy, if you are walking, and not in a hurry, a little bit of a jog, a little bit of sense of urgency, it's going to be the coach is going to have a little harder time asking you questions and getting stuff from you when he doesn't think that you're into the game because you're not focused and you're not giving that off that air of confidence. You're tentative. Be confident. I was told a long time ago by a mentor of mine, and this is out there for a lot of people have heard this. If you're going to be wrong strong. Be confident. Stand up, stand tall. Because that's where your presence is, and that's what you're portraying to everybody is you're confident, you've got this, your head is up, you're seeing what's happening, and you can focus in on everything going on.
That's good stuff, John. One more question from me anyway, since I like to ask these questions. It became, I don't know, a few years ago, there was a lot of talk about, well, I don't even blow my whistle. I don't know why I bring a whistle out. We're starting to see that really the other way with, we really want whistles. We don't want to have erroneous whistles, certainly, but have you rode that wave of differing philosophies? Just touching that for everybody in the audience.
Sure. Personally, I have not. I've always believed in a whistle. Because again, when you're playing football and you're coming up through the ranks as a young kid, they teach you to play to the whistle. Players are used to that. Yes, we all know from a rule standpoint, the whistle doesn't kill the play, but that's how players are taught. When you go to practices, that's how coaches teach. So I've always been consistent with a whistle standpoint. We want to have a whistle on every play. From my personal perspective and my standpoint, and our supervisor is harping on that, he wants more whistles. I try to have a whistle from everything that is from the hash out to my sideline. I'm very cognizant of not having a whistle on a play in the middle, and because I need to make sure that I'm seeing the football. I don't want something funky to happen, inadvertent whistle or things like that. I don't blow a whistle if it's outside the hash on the other side. That's up to my partner. Let him take care of that. But there needs to be a whistle on every play, and that's just something that I've always incorporated. I don't work with a whistle in my mouth. That's up to you. That's personal perspective for each one of you. I work with the whistle in my hand. It gives me a chance to process what I saw a little bit easier. And so that way I don't, take an intake of breath and all of a sudden I have a whistle inadvertently. So I work with it in my hand. That just works for me. If it works for you to put it in your mouth all the time, that's great. Do it works for you. That's most comfortable.
As a deep official, John, I will tell you that I appreciate that very much. There's not much more uncomfortable feeling on the field than when you're in the back end and guys are going at it and you have no idea if the play is live or not. So just to reinforce that idea, let's go ahead and let everybody know that the play's dead and blow those whistles, because it's tough trying to manage such an emotional and intense game when you don't know what the status of the ball is as an official. So great point there at the end.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. That was a great question, Brandon.
All right, John, man, thanks for your time. Thanks for all your preparation. It takes a lot. You got to get all your thoughts together, your plays. Thank you so much, John. Why don't you just bring us home tonight and take care.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Brandon. Again, thanks for everybody for being on this webinar conference call tonight. I wish each and every one of you the best of luck. And hopefully we do end up with a 2020 season and we can all go out there and enjoy exactly what we do. And from a line of scrimmage perspective, 100% on all of our fouls, 100% on all of our spots, and we will be fantastic line of scrimmage officials. Best of luck and best wishes to each of you. Have a great night.